to my fifth corner in the 2021 NFL draft. And this is a guy that I absolutely love in this draft. Elijah Molden, Washington corner. He's a football player. And in every sense of the word, he's one of those guys that you look at him and you say, okay, he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, but he just gets it. He just understands the game at a very high level. And what he lacks in pure speed and dynamic athleticism, he makes up for, more than makes up with it, for it, with sheer awareness and anticipation. This guy is just a smart football player. And some of those things you just, either you have it or you don't. Some of it is innate. Again, the more film you watch, the more comfortable you become with what teams are trying to do, the smarter you get, the more you can become proactive in this league. Instead of waiting and sitting on your heels for something to happen, you're on your toes and you're ready to go. And Elijah Molden is one of those guys, like I talked about with Asante Samuel, that just gets it at a different level than most guys coming from the collegiate ranks to the pros. Let's take a look as we flip over his card and take a look at what he brings to the table. His first strengths are quickness and agility. If you're going to play inside in the nickel, you got to be quick, period. That's the biggest attribute you can have inside is quickness and agility. If you can move your feet, if you can transition in and out of cuts and breaks, you're going to have a chance inside, because the biggest thing you have to be able to do inside is react to what the receiver is doing, because you don't know. Unlike when you're on the outside, much by how a guy sets up his split as an outside receiver, you kind of tell where he's trying to go. You know, if he sets up inside, then you know his split is reduced. Okay, he's probably trying to run an outbreaking route or something towards the sidelines. He sets up wide, and he's trying to get to, inside, and he's trying to stay away from the linebacker and the safety, but create enough space so that he can catch and make something happen. So you kind of know, say in breaking route, just off of alignment. When you're inside in the slot, you have no idea what the hell is coming. Inside, outside, back towards the quarterback, up the field, you have no clue. Across the field, you don't know. And you got to be able to react to whatever you see, and he's got that agility and quickness to be able to do that. His awareness, off the charts. The most aware player in this draft at the cornerback position to me is Elijah Molden. And I would bet on him. Of all the players in this draft, I would bet on him to be the most successful inside. I think he's the best nickel in this draft. And honestly, I don't know if it's close. His ability to understand, like I'm watching him, and I want to say, it might have been against BYU in 2019. I'm watching him against Zach Wilson and that crew. Or it might have been against Oregon in 2019 against Justin Herbert and his crew. I can't remember which game it was. But he's in zone coverage. And they've got a stack set to his side. And they run the running back on a wheel route, an arrow route over the onto his side of the field as well. So he drops in the zone. He's carrying the number 2 up the seam. He sees the running back coming out of the backfield, doubles back because the safety takes over the number 2 up the seam, doubles back, and takes away the running back. That's some Tyrann Mathieu shit, man. That's next level stuff. I can't tell you how many times I've watched Tyrann Mathieu staring at the quarterback. He runs with a shallow cross, takes that away. Then the quarterback is looking to throw the deep dig behind him. He stops, turns, pivots, takes that away, and now the quarterback's like, shit, he just took away 2 and 3 from me, and now he gets sacked. And that's what Elijah Molden did on that play. He took away the seam ball from the 2 receiver, then doubled back and took the 3, which is the running back on that play, coming out of the backfield on an arrow route. And you're just like, shit, that's pretty goddamn impressive, man. Because he's just aware. There's a play in that same BYU game where Zach Wilson is just sure he's got an easy touchdown to his tight end. And he throws a loft job back in the end zone. And Elijah Molden is sitting there watching, waiting, and he kind of gets a late jump. and the ball's just in the air, and he backpedals and leaps up with one hand and snatches it out of the air. He loses it upon impact on the ground, but you're still watching that play in awe of this guy like, you dirty bastard. That was supposed to be a touchdown. He just gets it, man. It's a different level of understanding. Physicality, when you see him, you're not thinking, okay, he's about to lay the wood on somebody, but he is out here hitting folks. So I love the physicality, and I talked about this with Melanfanwu. The tackling prowess. It's different when I say tackling prowess because that means you're willing to come up and hit somebody in the mouth. And you're getting dudes on the ground. You ain't up here worried about if the safety's going to get him or the corner's going to get him or the linebacker or the defensive end. Or like, oh, they got it. I'm going to just stand back here. If y'all need me, I got y'all. Nah, he's going in there and he's getting the job done himself. Change of direction. He's got really good change of direction, especially underneath. Where his change of direction kind of lags is when he opens up to turn and run up the field vertically. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But underneath, when he's coming back towards the ball or going across the field or going out, he's on it just like that. Change of direction. He's right there on the receiver. He's an LLCer and a CNC ability guy. Got to be that. Again, if you're going to be in my top 5, which he is, you have to have those two traits. They are not negotiable, okay? Especially being an LLCer. You may not have click and close ability, but it's hard for you to penetrate my top 5 if you don't. But you may not have it. You may make up for it in other ways. You got to be an LLCer. That's a prerequisite for me. I don't like you as a player at the cornerback position if you're not an LLCer, because what that's going to lead to are penalty flags. When you don't look back for the ball, you're going to get in trouble. He's an LLCer, which is why he's got 5 career interceptions. He's got the click and close ability, which is why he has 20 pass breakups in his career. He's always around the ball. He's always there. And when he gets there, if he's there in enough time, he's going to pick it off. Competitiveness at the point of catch. Again, just about every corner that I'm going to talk about tonight, they're feisty at the point of catch. They're not giving up any loose change. All right. No, even the loose change, they care about pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, all of it. They want it all. No loose change. If you got the football, but it isn't secure yet, I'm trying to get it out of there. He's another one of those guys. Really aggressive at the point of catch. Capable blitzer. He doesn't have a career sack, but if you watch the film, you see a guy that times it up well, and he was blitzing from depth. At times, I'm like, hey, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why are we blitzing this guy from that much depth? There's no way he should be able to get there to impact this play. That said, I see a guy that if you turn him loose, you give him some more free reins to run and get after the quarterback, I think he could actually be a guy that could be an effective blitzer at the next level. Versatility. This is a guy that played safety at Washington, played corner, and he did whatever it took. He's one of these, whatever you need, I got you type of guys. Took him 2 years to get on the field. He was a special teams demon at first, and then he finally got an opportunity at safety, took full advantage. That got him an opportunity at nickel corner. He's never looked back from that point forward, and thus he's been a guy that has put up numbers at Washington and put himself in a position to be a late first, potentially early second round draft choice. His versatility is something that's definitely going to help him at the next level. Bloodlines. I talked about his awareness and that ability to just know what needs to be done. And I talk about how a lot of times it seems like with these defensive backs in particular, they just get it on a different level. And it's usually because they've got a dad or a brother or an uncle that played in the league, especially if it's your dad, because you're so close with your dad a lot of times. I can't speak for everybody's situation, but in Elijah Molden's case, his dad is a former first-round cornerback, Alex Molden, and you can tell that his dad instilled in him some of the basics of what needs to be done, what to look for, some of the finer tuned things after going over the basics and knocking that out of the way so that you're not thinking on the field, you're just playing. He was able to give him some of the finer points of what to look for. Hey, how they're trying to set you up here. When they give you this look, they're trying to get you to go here so that they can throw the ball here. So act as if you're going, because he's great at baiting quarterbacks into thinking, hey, I'm leaving this guy open only to take it away. That's next level stuff. When you start baiting quarterbacks, that's next level. A lot of guys are just looking to do their job. When you start going outside the lines and saying, not only am I going to do my job, I'm going to make the quarterback think this guy's open so I can pick him off or make a play. That's when you go next level. He's already there. I think that has a lot to do with his dad, honestly. Similar to Antoine Winfield Jr. last year, Asante Samuel Jr. this year. I think it has a lot to do with his dad, honestly. Weaknesses, size. Like I talked about with Asante Samuel Jr., not a big guy. All right, he's 5'10", $190. I mean, what are you going to do? He's not growing anymore. It is what it is. I don't think that hurts him because he's a nickel. Unlike Asante Samuel, who wants to go outside and play with the big boys, he's going to be inside as Elijah Molden. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, honestly. But it is worth noting. And, yeah, you do get big guys inside sometimes. And if you do get a big receiver, that's when he'll be at a disadvantage. Lack of top-end speed. He's not a blazer. He's a 4.58 guy. That's what he ran. That's not what you're looking for ideally. But when you have the kind of instincts and awareness that this guy has, it makes up for a 4.58 and not being able to run at 4.45. Because you can anticipate, you can get there before the guy that runs a 4.45 because he's got to think. He's got to see it first, and then he reacts. You're already running to the spot. You're already there. So, yeah, he lacks top-end speed, but he makes up for it with awareness, instincts. Can get stuck on blocks. I hate the fact that a lot of times he runs to contact in these situations like, hey, I got a gap that I got to fill, so I'm going to get in my gap and get in my proper fit. And then he just gets stuck on the block. And I'm like, if you didn't run to the guy to get blocked, you might have been able to make the tackle. Loses ground when opening up. That's probably his biggest detriment to this point is when I watch him on film, you can get vertical on Elijah Molden if he guesses wrong. If he's flat-footed, if he thinks you're going to break it off to the outside and you end up going up the field and he guesses wrong or you catch him flat-footed, when he turns to open up, he loses a little bit of ground. He's not as fluid turning and going up the field. And if you're running at full speed, he doesn't have the makeup speed to be able to catch up. And he doesn't have the length to close that gap if he's a step or two behind. So he doesn't have the same leeway as a longer corner to be able to be trailing in trail technique and still get back into play and make a play on the football if it's a well-thrown ball. So him losing ground when opening up is problematic. When you run a 4.58 and you're 5'10 and you don't have long arms, that's when that could probably turn into a big issue down the field. But he can open up and he can mirror and go hip to hip with the guy, squeeze them towards the sidelines. He does that perfectly fine when he anticipates that. It's when he's looking for something else and he doesn't get that, and then he has to open up and run. I've seen guys get on top of him in that instance. But in any event, this is a guy that I look at and I see a late first to early second for me. And I see Tyrann Mathieu written all over this kid. To be honest with you, brutally honest with you, he's Tyrann Mathieu. He is a difference maker. He is a playmaker. He is a guy that roams the field. He sees it before you do. And he's setting guys up. He's making things happen. He's a football player. And I think some people can get caught up with the 4.58 and the 5'10 and the 190. All of that is fine. But you know football players when you see football players. Elijah Molden is a football player. So for me, he's a late first. I'd be willing to spend a late first on Elijah Molden. I would be. I think he'll ultimately go somewhere in the second round, however. He is my fifth corner in this draft.
LouieTeeNetwork.